Hello, subscribers. Welcome to our latest live event. This month, the topic, which was suggested by Matt, I believe, and other psychic abilities. We'll each be discussing our own views on the topic and our personal experiences. So for those of you who don't know us, we're all going to introduce ourselves. So I'm Stephen, I'm the Tuesday host, and I'll be watching the chat box to the right over there to answer any questions and respond to you guys.
And I'm Michelle, your regular Thursday host.
I'm Tara, your regular Sunday host. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. So now we'll move on, and shall we start with our own kind of views and opinions on kind of psychic abilities and premonitions and things like that? Or do you want to start with personal experiences first?
Yeah, are we doing it like premonitions first, or dreams first, or the whole thing at once? How do you want to go about that?
I'm happy to do everything at once if you guys are.
Okay.
Okay.
So who wants to start, or have I volunteered myself by hosting this time?
Yep.
I think you start by default.
Okay, okay, so talking about premonitions, kind of psychic abilities, and dreams as well. I am a full believer in all of that. I read tarot cards, so I can't really kind of say anything really. I have had I've had what I believe to be premonitions, but a lot of them have been kind of too far in the future for me to actually tell. And I've had prophetic dreams before, deja vu, stuff like that. So I'm a full, believer in all of that. I am hesitant to believe someone who says they're psychic, but I believe that there is kind of, there are real psychics out there. Kind of say they are and they're kind of not as well, but we won't get into that. But yeah, so I'm a full, out there kind of, yes, this is real, this is a thing. And if you say otherwise, then you're wrong. I won't argue with someone. But I hold my belief and I stick with it. And technically, I believe someone who doesn't believe it to be wrong. But I don't say to them, you have to believe in this, just because I do. So that's my view.
I also believe in premonitions and certain psychic abilities. Like you said, I don't believe the majority of people who claim to be psychic really are. I do believe that there are people out there that have those abilities, and I think it's rare to be a full-blown psychic. But as far as premonitions, I tend to get more of like those feelings where something's about to happen that's not good, or
Intuition.
yeah, more like that. I mean, I've never like full on predicted something like to the T, maybe a more general outcome I've had premonitions about, but nothing like, directly this is it, this is what's going to happen. But that also correlates with dreams because when I used to dream, I dream, but I don't remember them lately. Back when I remember my dreams, I would dream a lot about things that might happen, and then they ended up coming true. So yeah, I do believe that, having premonitions and seeing kind of like the future, so to speak, in your dreams is possible. And yeah, I think, everyone has different psychic abilities. Some might not know it yet. That's what I believe. So yeah. What do you believe, Tara?
Oh, well, I think, like you guys, I don't think everyone per se has an ability. I know there's a theory going around that everybody's born with an innate talent. It just depends if they've worked on it enough that it's useful to them. I'm borderline with that. I can see how that might be. Um, I I have a pretty good sense of intuition when it comes to situations. Whether I follow that is completely different. I think everybody has that issue at one point or another. Um, but I think, yeah, generally, I do believe, but again, like what Stephen was saying, I have kind of a natural skepticism when someone just is like, I'm this. Okay, well, prove it, I guess. um, I think it depends on the person who's saying that they are, and then observing them for a time to see how legit of just a person they are, if I believe them or not, because sometimes, you know, I don't know
Yeah.
if someone's legit or not. And with dreams, yeah, definitely. There's weird correlations there. I've never had any um, future premonitions or anything in my dreams, but um, not too long ago, like was it a month, maybe 2 months ago, like I had a dream with a specific individual came up in it, which I hadn't talked to for years and had no desire to talk to or anything like that, and hadn't been thinking of this person, and he popped up in my head in one of my dreams, and the next day he contacted me and he was like, oh, I was thinking of you. I'm like, really? Why? He's like, oh, I had a dream about you. I'm like, oh, well, that's bizarre. So I kind of have a feeling like there, I have more of those like kind of connecting ones rather than not so much that the dreams themselves have meanings. I don't know if that's considered astral traveling or not, though. Yeah, don't judge me.
I think the point here is not to judge any of us at all, because I think some of us do have, on varying topics, we have some less than usual opinions. I think all of us have at some
Bizarre
point.
opinions?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Oh, bizarre. That's what I was saying.
Possibly, I think a few, I think a few of us have some odd ideas. Um, so are we moving on to personal experiences? I've just checked the YouTube page. There's nothing,
Sure.
nothing in the chat box. So if we're moving right along, in terms of personal experiences, I kind of innate, kind of empathic. Um, I don't want to say ability, kind of a bit, kind of like, you know. Um, but yeah, I kind of have this thing whereby I can know how someone is feeling, I guess. Not kind of specifically, I guess. What tended to happen, it hasn't happened in quite a while actually, but what tended to happen is if um, someone relatively close to me, a good friend mainly, um, had some sort of powerful emotion, whether they were near me or not. I mean, this happened when like my friends were in like, a couple of towns away kind of thing. Um, I'd suddenly feel the same without even talking to them. And then I'd speak to them later on and they'd be like, kind of like, oh, this happened earlier on. And I'm like, that explains why I felt like that. But it was a case of just randomly, I'd go from being like really kind of average, normal, just kind of resting emotion, I guess, to I could go either way to like really happy, really kind of depressed, angry, whatever it was. Um, but it only tended to be around people I was kind of connected to on an emotional level, I guess. I think there might be kind of a connection there. I mean, feeling emotions, people connected to emotionally kind of works. Um, so that's kind of one, I guess, psychic, in a sense, ability that I have. Um, but haven't really focused on that much, and it seems to have kind of relaxed a little now, and that I haven't actually had any kind of feeling like it for some time. Interestingly, I did have a premonition within a dream the other night. It was really weird. In this dream, I had a bit of a kind of flash forward to a little bit later on within the dream, which was an amusing one. I just thought that kind of was semi-relevant. But yeah, in terms of kind of premonitions and things, I've had kind of flashes of visions, I guess, from what I suspect is the future, and also from what I am guessing is a past life as well, which I'm assuming we'll probably get into some other time.
Good idea.
I can't. Yeah, we'll have to add that to our topic list. I mean, I obviously can't prove that it was the future or the past, because the future hasn't happened yet, and the past is something that I wasn't actually there in this physical body, so I can't really prove it. But you know, it's my belief, kind of thing. I've had dreams that have came true before. I actually once was having a conversation with someone in a shop that I'd never been in before with a friend, and I suddenly had a really weird sense of deja vu. It was like I'd been there before, I'd never been in the shop before, I'd never had that conversation before, and yet I was having a really weird sense of deja vu, and then I remembered that I'd dreamed about it a few nights beforehand, and I hadn't remembered it until it happened. So this is kind of my whole kind of reason why I believe stuff like this. I've had a lot of personal experiences to do with premonitions, psychic stuff, dreams. I actually told the counsellor once about my my empathy thing, and I was expecting her, because she was very kind of skeptical, to say that I was completely, you know, deluded. Instead, she said that apparently there was a scientific basis for it called extrasensory perception, which to me is science terminology for psychic. Because
Pretty much.
it is, isn't it? It's a lot of kind of science trying to explain something that maybe they're a bit kind of like,
science?
yeah, it's not. It's not really.
Not traditional science, anyways.
No. It's, you know, it
That's
can probably be
funny.
explained in some logical fashion, but at the same time, it's science trying to explain it away with just some terminology that they kind of plucked out of the air that sounds kind of sciencey. But I mean, extrasensory perception sounds very similar to paranormal. You know, paranormal being more than normal. You know.
ESP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think on my personal channel I did a whole video about this in the very beginning stages of my channel, when I was still doing kind of more pagan-esque videos. And I believe it was a big rant on how science tries to explain things that aren't really fully explainable.
I love your definition of ranting.
Well, it was more like a logical debate with myself.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I kind of I'm kind of veering off topic, but yeah, psychic experiences. I've had a few. I know people who've had a few. I once knew someone who read tarot cards long before I did, and was part of the reason I got into them. And they predicted my grandmother's death before it happened, which was both scary and intriguing. She eventually stopped reading the cards. She refused to read them anymore because she scared herself with the fact that she predicted that and another. I think it was a fire at her friend's house. And so she kind of scared herself with that, so stopped reading them. And then a few years later, I kind of remembered that and thought it was useful, and decided to go on with that. Um, I think that with tarot cards as a form of prediction, I think they are limited in their use. I think
Very true.
though they are useful and they can be quite accurate, I think that they're more useful as a form of, I guess, almost like counseling for people. I think that people can get a lot of hope from things like tarot cards because tarot cards can be very positive things, even in the negative aspects of it. It can be turned into something very positive. So I'm less with the prediction with the tarot cards, more with the idea of them being kind of emotional support, I guess. And I've gone on for quite a while now, so I'm going to hand over to Michele.
I'll be right back. I need to deal with the child really fast.
Okay, doke.
Okay. Well, I've had, I guess, premonition type of experiences. I didn't know they were premonitions until, later on. More like where I would either in meditation or in a dream, or just I would get a weird feeling about something, that something wasn't gonna go right, and I wouldn't know how that was going to turn out until it turned out that way. And then when it did, I was like, oh my God, I had a dream about this, or I had something come up in meditation about it. So I've never had anything happen where it was like definite, I know this is going to happen, don't do it. But I get feelings all the time, and like sometimes if my daughter's going to do something, or she's going to put herself in a certain situation, she'll tell me about it, and I'll tell her, look, I don't have a good feeling about this. It's not going to turn out good. It's not going to turn out good. I just have a really weird feeling. And she'll be like, yeah, right, whatever. And then it doesn't turn out good. It always happens that way.
Mommy's right.
Yeah, I just get these feelings. I mean, sometimes they're good feelings. Sometimes I just have a feeling something really great's going to happen, and it happens. But I never get anything specific. It's more of a general feeling. And I also somewhat pick up on people's emotions and how they're feeling. Like I said, I don't get anything exact. I just kind of get a general, like, vibe from people about, this one is depressed. I could tell when people are sad, depressed, scared, happy, but nothing specific. As far as dreams, I used to have very vivid dreams, and a lot of the times, if it was a recurring dream, it would actually happen in real life, but not for a while. I could have a certain recurring dream, and then next year that dream turns out to happen. But I'm on certain medication now where it's like I just zonk out and I don't have any dreams lately, which makes my astral projection and out-of-body experience work very hard because I have trouble remembering my dreams, so it's hard to get into that state, but that's a whole nother topic. But, yeah, I've definitely had, experiences with somewhat premonition. The way I look at premonition is people, like, I guess, predicting the future. Not really predicting the future, but you know what I mean? Like, they can tell you, I got this vision that, you're going to be here and this is going to happen, so don't do this. And I don't really get that. And that's kind of how I've always looked at premonition. But I definitely get the feelings, and I've had things happen where, it's come true, and, like, I didn't realize it until then. Like, oh, wait a minute. Last week I had this, vision or this thing in a meditation, and I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now it's like the exact same thing almost. So, I've definitely had experiences with it, and but yeah, dreaming lately for me has been crap. Even though the other night I had some really weird shit going on in my dreams. Like off the wall, weird stuff. Nothing normal, but yeah.
Just a quick thing
Sarah.
about you saying, sorry, I'm just a quick thing about you saying how premonitions is like someone can tell you exactly where you're going to be and things like that. Um, in my opinion, if someone can tell you exactly where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing and like kind of really exact specifics,
They're stalking you.
they're either stalking you or lying, or they have a hotline to the universe that I want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I find it hard. Like I find it hard to believe anything when someone tells me that I'm going to be in this exact place at this exact time doing this exact thing. Like
Yeah.
that's not how it works. You get a
Right.
general view as kind of. I think it's like it's almost like a little kind of tidbit from the universe, just like
Yeah.
Here's a nugget.
yeah, it's like it's either a warning that something bad's going to happen or kind of a hope for something better. Like that's generally all it is.
Right.
And it's as much or as little as you need to actually believe in it. But specifics are very unlikely.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's how I always looked at when people in the past would say premonition. That's what would come to mind to me until obviously until I learned more about it. But that's what the first thing would come to mind is, oh, what you
yeah,
can predict what you think you can predict the future? Okay.
yeah, your first
Like,
thought with premonition is like Phoebe from Charmed. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I I kind of get that because I mean like I said, I've kind of had flashes of the future, but I don't consider that to be something that will exactly happen as I saw it. It might be
Right.
something that's just like, well, I saw this, maybe that, I mean, one time I saw me and my husband on a motorbike, and I found out like the next day that he was looking into getting a motorbike,
Oh, lovely.
but he's never gotten one, and he's
Okay.
not going to get one now. Um, but it is a case
Nice
of
choice.
like, well, partly. I don't trust them. But yeah, my immediate thought was like, oh, he's good. Like when he said that he's looking to getting one, like I was like, oh, he must be getting one because I was on it, kind of thing. And then it turned out that he didn't end up getting one, and he's now not going to. But it's a case of like that premonition was more to do with the fact that he was thinking of getting that, not that he
Right.
was actually going to. I mean, at that point in time, he could have. He hadn't made the decision yet, which kind of is a whole thing about free will and how it affects the future. But um, one possible future event. I don't believe the future is set in stone, which is why you can't get specifics.
Right. Yeah.
This is my turn.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, you and your tangents. Good at that. All right. So me. And I will say I think most pagans are empathic. I've yet to meet one that has stated I'm not. So I am empathic. Um, I don't know if it's enhanced because of my lack of vision, but I can read situations and people without seeing them, since obviously my vision is not something that I can rely on. And most people pick up stuff because of body language, facial expression. But for me, I just kind of have to go with the energy or like the tone of people's voices. Even if it's slight, I can pick it up. But I've always been pretty sensitive to other people's moods, even since I was little. And I go into this in detail on Lunar Wisdom's channel because every Friday we have a Sacred Circle hangout, and we did that 2 Fridays ago. So if anybody wants more information about me and empathic stuff, go there. But one thing that I feel like I'm trying to find the words. I've talked to a few people about it, and they think it's just another level of being empathic. Is when I hear people's voices, I kind of feel it in a part of my body, and like, it's not the same for each person. Like, and this isn't true, but for example, like Stephen, I could feel maybe your voice resonate, like vibrate in my shoulder, and you, Michelle, in my foot.
All right.
I don't. It's just an example. I don't know what it means, and I need to kind of look more into it. But over time, I'm noticing that. I have no logical explanation for why that is. So I kind of chop it up to being empathic and it being related to that, and therefore kind of a psychic ability, which I don't really like that term. I just don't. It has a lot of stigma with it and stereotypes that I just
Yeah.
don't like.
Yeah.
But that's what we're saying right now, so because it's the easiest to understand. I don't know if I have any other forms of psychic abilities per se. If I do, they're so minor, I just don't know. The instinct thing, I think we've covered that a little bit. That I definitely have very strong, when it's important, strong gut instincts, and again, free will. I don't necessarily always listen to it when I should. And that's, I think, just growing as a person in general. And I think everybody does have some level of intuition or that gut feeling, if something is right or wrong. A lot of people tend to be surprised that I can peg people with only speaking to them once, like how this person is, what is most likely their behavior in life, probably what their job is, stuff like that. It's actually kind of funny and annoying to some people. As for dreams, I am an extremely vivid dreamer, and weirdly enough, sometimes I have normal vision in them. I don't know why. I did at one point have relatively normal vision, but I can't remember how that was. I was so young. I do notice right about, I would say, 3 days prior and 3 days after kind of time span around the full moon, always, without fail, I'll have very, very vivid dreams. I don't know why that is, but it's always around the full moon. But I also have times I want to say it was around the new moon this month, that I had a couple days of just very vivid dreams. They were all really fucking bizarre, but and I wonder if that's just like something going around right now with bizarre dreams. And I don't know if there's like a deeper meaning in them. I know when some people pop up, like, as you guys know, my dad passed away last month, and I would have expected him to pop up in my dreams, and only up until a week or two ago, popped in for like just a second, and it was not even, he didn't even say anything. It was just kind of an image of him and kind of a feeling, and that was it. And I don't know. It's, for me, dreams are really hard to interpret. I think what is going on in the dream is not as important as the feelings I get from them, and maybe who the people are. Like I explained with that weird former friend of mine popping up in a dream and then saying, I had a dream about you the same night I did. What the fuck? Very weird. I don't know if that's considered astral traveling or not. I don't know if I've done that. Probably. Because sometimes it feels very, very real for me. Like I can touch things, I feel pain, a bunch of stuff. It's really weird. I don't know. I'm weird with dreams.
It could
Yeah.
be.
Mhm.
It's hard to
You just
say.
it could be something where you're projecting astrally. You just don't remember the actual projection itself.
I
But
can remember my dreams very, very
the dream
clearly,
part,
though.
but like actually leaving your body part, that you might not
Oh,
remember.
yeah. Yeah, no. Never quite had that sensation. I've had sensations
Yeah.
of falling, which I hate.
Well, see, that's something I have studied and really worked on doing for a couple years, and I wanted to actually know that my consciousness was leaving my physical body and all that stuff, and
When
so
you were having lift off.
right, like I could feel it happening, and it's really freaking bizarre, but freaking awesome and cool. But you know, some people that might happen, but you just were consciously asleep at the time, and then you became conscious once you were out. All that. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
That's fine. Is it kind of scary knowing when you're doing it?
The first few times I was terrified. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
can I get back?
Well, I could feel myself like lifting out of my body. I could feel like when I went through the ceiling, I could feel the fibers of the drywall and it was freaking weird, man. I'm telling you, freaking bizarre. Because before that point, before I started actually trying to do it, I really didn't believe in it. I really just thought it was a bunch of bullshit. So I thought, well, let me look into it. Let me read about it. Let me try it. Let me start practicing it. And holy crap, it's bizarre. You can go anywhere you want. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, you could, the feelings, and I know what you mean, like feeling like it's actually happening to you, like your physical body. It's crazy. Yeah.
Do you when you go back into your body, do you kind of have a like breathing? Like, because I know there's I'll wake up and I'm just like breathe kind of a thing. I don't.
Sometimes I'll wake up and it feels like I fell into my body or fell into the bed, and I'll wake up like startled, like holy shit.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I've woke up when I've felt like I've just literally just dropped onto the bed, and I've like literally felt it bounce near enough. Woke up, nothing's changed. My husband's still asleep next to me, bed not moving. I'm just kind of there, and I'm just like just a sensation of falling and then just dropping onto like a bouncing.
Although the bouncing
coming
could
back
be
in.
your body just going like this could have made the bed move because you startled yourself awake.
Yeah.
That's a
it could be a lot of things, but you know. Yeah.
I feel like if I ever did that kind of astral projection thing the way you do it, Michele, whereby you literally feel yourself leave your body, I would panic that I died.
I
like
used
just,
to.
like floating off.
I used to think that, and it would scare the shit out of me. So when I would get to that point, I would chicken out, so to speak, and pop awake and be like, crap.
Get back in.
But eventually, I just pushed. After reading so much about it and reading how you're not gonna die.
It's kind of like learning how to swim, I would think.
Right, and once I finally said, you know what, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. So if I don't come back, well, I guess it's meant to be that way. And it took a while to get over the fear. And the fear is intense, and I, go into it going, yeah, whatever, I can do this shit, no big deal. But the fear is really intense at first, it's because it's not something you're normally, it's not a normal thing to do.
Yeah, repetition normalizes things, so the freak out it won't be as bad. I'm sure it still freaks you out in a very basic level, just like, whoa.
Well, yeah, your consciousness is supposed to stay with your body, and when your consciousness is trying to separate, it's like your body goes into survival mode, and you get terrified. So
that's
yeah.
good that it does it though, because that's what the body should do.
Yeah.
Have you got any questions?
No, actually, we've been very quiet. We've got a couple of people watching, but yeah, it's been very quiet on the chat front.
Come on, people.
Quickly
ask some questions.
Comment.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah. While you guys ask those questions, I want to quickly comment. In terms of kind of vivid dreams, intuition. So 2 comments really. The vivid dreams thing. I generally don't remember my dreams. It's kind of just a thing whereby every night I will dream, but I won't actually remember any of them when I wake up the next morning. Unless it's one of 2 things. Either it's a dream that is very vivid and either weird or meaningful. So if it's something that I will definitely remember because either it's got a powerful meaning behind it or it's just really insane, then I'll remember it. I will also remember it if it is a really, really bad nightmare. And I've had a few terrifying nightmares between really young and now. And there's a couple that I still remember now. And the last time I had a proper nightmare was when I was 17. I'm 19 now. So about 2 years ago. And in that one, I like literally like I felt the bullet, like it was horrible. I honestly thought I was going to die. And then I woke up and just kind of like breathed. And you know, it is scary. But that's going off topic. Yeah, other things when I dream, if I remember, it has to be either weird or meaningful. Like I said, I've had dreams where it's happened later on and then I've remembered the dream. Not sure why that happened. It didn't seem a particularly meaningful moment, but might have just been to let me know that my dreams could mean something, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had dreams before where it's like, I mean, you said you dreamt the other day, Tara, of a friend of yours you haven't spoken to in a while. I actually, the last dream I remember was a really weird one. It had a train station that turned into an airport that turned into a dock. But it also involved one of my friends who I was very close to about 4 years ago. Haven't spoken to them in a couple of years now. And I thought about telling them that I'd had this dream about them, but then I thought that might be a bit weird. Just after like a couple of years of not speaking, just all of a sudden, I had a dream about you the other night. It didn't help about the nature of the dream either. It kind of was a bit weird. But it was interesting. Yeah, but it was actually funny because in this dream this guy was going off to the Navy, so no idea why that's relevant, but apparently it is. Then over to intuition. I also get the kind of feeling of whether something good or bad is going to happen. Generally speaking, if I'm looking forward to something, I don't let myself get excited about it, because I've had a lot of letdowns when I've like planned things and stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes, on the very rare occasion, I will literally just be suddenly overwhelmed. That's the only times when they actually really go well, because I literally can't stop myself from getting kind of hyped about something. Like I'm doing a book signing in November, and literally already I am more excited about doing that than I am about going to Comic-Con in October. And like, so I have a feeling now that the book signing in November is probably going to go quite well, or at least really well. I mean, while I'm up there, I'm going to be seeing friends and stuff as well, so it'll be good.
How are we on time?
We're
It's
good.
currently, yeah, we've got another about 25 minutes
Okay.
left.
Because you never know, because like I can't see the clock, and I know sometimes these things go super fast. So that's what I wanted to.
Yeah, there's times when we've gone over to like 2 hours and just being like, what? Where did that time go?
Yeah, just FYI, people, we're only doing an hour today. We have some prearranged plans afterwards.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening, I believe, for various. So yeah, I was saying intuition, wasn't I?
Oh.
Yeah, excitement. Yeah. I think that's everything I had to say.
I haven't had a nightmare since I was a kid. Like there are things that would think would be scary for a lot of people, but for me, like I just turn off that emotional trigger in my head because there's been some gruesome shit, there's been some scary shit. Even I'm falling off a cliff and I can feel myself falling doesn't scare me. It startles me, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring up that. Oh, well, fuck. Okay, I'm falling.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's weird. I just don't. I remember having a few nightmares as a kid. I remember seeing the never-ending story wolf in my dream, and it was in my parents' laurel hedge.
Oh, that wolf.
I was like,
yeah.
Oh, that shit scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
Not the nightmare, but the wolf. It scared the shit out of me. So I can understand why I had a nightmare from that.
I think as a kid, things like that are just more terrifying and more scary. And as an adult,
No, I'm just like,
it's not really a nightmare anymore. It's more of like just a bizarre,
Yeah,
weird
as an adult,
dream.
what's scarier generally are things like taxes.
I remember obviously I can remember that dream as a kid pretty vividly because that was pretty intense. But I remember later on as an adult, it was years ago, I can still remember having a similar dream, but never seeing it, seeing the wolf, but walking past the laurel hedge and just getting the feeling like something's in there, and that ooky feeling. But it didn't give me the same feeling about it, just like, okay.
Yeah. I used to have a really bizarre reoccurring dream when I was a teenager, and I had this dream probably 50 times. It was the same, and it was bizarre. And as a smaller child, it was more of a nightmare. But as I got older, it wasn't as scary, but it was definitely weird. It was like I was in my bedroom, the one I grew up in the apartment me and my parents lived in when I was a kid. And in the dream, I woke up. I had no ceiling. The sky was like, purple and black and green. It was all swirling clouds above me. No ceiling. Everything in my room was normal, except that everything had cobwebs all over and it was all old looking. So all my stuff was where it was usually at. Yeah, it was weird. And everything was covered in cobwebs and dust and like nobody had been there for years. And in the dream, I'd wake up and look up and see this sky and be like, what the fuck? And look around my room and go, what the hell happened? And when I would leave my room, my whole house was like that. Nobody was there. I'd be calling for my parents, couldn't find them. And then eventually this creepy looking sky thing would just swirl down and grab me and pull me up and I would wake up. It was very bizarre. And I had that dream over and over and over. And I could never figure out what it meant.
I'd be like, what? Why do you keep taking me?
But when I wouldn't be scared, I would just be more of like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? But I had that dream over and over as a teenager, and I could interpret that 100 different ways, but just it's very strange how that same dream would happen over and over. And as I got older, it just stopped, and I haven't had it since I was probably like 20 years old. So it's been a while.
Say that I know psychology has its own little section for interpreting dreams and how all that stuff. Like, the first thing that pops into my head when you're talking about that is fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
That's
one thing that, definitely nobody's there. I can't find my parents. Something takes me. Yeah. Very, very weird, but yeah. Never
It's fun to interpret dreams. It's never ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything's subjective.
Go black, Steven.
Speaking of a recurring, I know it's my webcam. I still haven't managed to sort it out. It's really annoying.
There you go.
There you go. Nope.
Seriously, just punch it.
It worked briefly. It worked briefly. Yeah, I had a recurring nightmare when I was a kid as well. Except mine was slightly different in that mine used to the setting would change, but the actual thing that happened would stay the same. And I mean, the setting changed from literally one place to one other place within about like a series of a decent dozen. But essentially, what happened was that I would get kidnapped every time. It used to definitely once a week. Randomly one night just fall asleep, and all of a sudden it would be a case of I'd be somewhere near where I lived at the time, generally in a relatively populated area, and someone would come over, pick me up, throw me over the shoulder, and run off, and that was it. And I would be terrified of that. I mean, the only other thing, I had another relatively recurring, I wouldn't say nightmare, it wasn't scary enough to be like waking up covered in kind of sweat, breathing, kind of like kind of like really terrifying. I used to have a dream that I would be walking down the road with my mum generally, and I would fall over off the curb onto into the middle of the road, and then not be able to get up. I'd be stuck, trying to get up, not able to, and then a car approach, and it get to a certain point, like distance away, and then I'd wake up. But I mean, I was involved in a kind of car accident I say car accident, a road accident when I was younger, and I think it kind of stems from that because I kind of nearly died
You
when I was
think?
younger from that. So yeah, it's it's kind of obvious, really, but yeah, it like again, it wasn't kind of a terrifying. This is something like really really scary, but it was a case of that's kind of weird more than anything else. I mean, it probably should be scary, because like it's a case of like nearly dying. But yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Also,
I've had. Ooh. Yes.
go for it. Go for it.
I was gonna say I remember a recurring dream I had like hundreds of times, and it doesn't make any sense. I would just be riding my bike as a kid down to the creek, and then the bridge that's over the creek. This actually exists near my parents' house. Wasn't there anymore, and I would just try to pop a wheelie over the bridge to the other side and never make it. And land in the creek. I don't know. I was like, okay, I'm not really sure what this is trying to tell me, but okay. That was it. That's it. It was like, all right.
I know. My nightmare, the nightmare that I mentioned earlier about me being shot, and kind of waking up like, kind of thing. With that one, it wasn't until after that nightmare that I realized that I'm not actually scared of dying. You'd think that I am, considering I got terrified from this dream about dying. But it's not the kind of death that scares me. It's what happens afterward. My big fear is that when I die, I'll be forgotten at some point in the future. Like, there's going to be a point at some time in the future where no one alive is going to know who I was,
Yep.
and that's a scary thought.
Yeah.
I mean, is it
Is
just
that why
me,
you
or is that
write?
partly, yeah? Because then at
Because
least there's
books last
something.
forever, pretty much.
It's an
Yeah,
odd thought,
exactly. I mean,
knowing that one day no one's going to remember who the hell you were. Yeah, it's weird. It's a strange thing, but I mean, I wouldn't say scary for me. Weird, but
As long
yeah.
as the family goes on, there's going to be someone, at least in part, that's going to at least know the history of the family, and they may not know anything about you except for your name, but
Yeah.
the
That's
family's
what I
worth
think
their
of.
salt.
That's what I think of when I see like old grave sites that are like
Mhm.
dilapidated, like from the 1800s. I'm like, that used to be someone's like family member, and now no
The
one knows
family's
who it is.
probably all gone.
Right. And like I couldn't tell you who my family members were from like 1850. I don't know their names. I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I could research it, but I don't.
Mhm.
You know, they're forgotten, and that's going to happen to us eventually. It's yeah. For some
mhm.
people, that's
Not
not
in the partial
cool.
thing.
Yeah, but like you said, part of why I write is because I hope that, at one point in the future I will eventually become relatively famous, and people will then remember me because my books will still be around. I mean, I'm no Shakespeare, but yeah, because I mean, to me, writing is putting a part of your soul into a story that other people will take enjoyment from, hopefully. Um, and so the kind of the idea that there are bits of me essentially floating around in life reason and people have gotten is something that I really like, because it means that, you know, my legacy, I guess, will last just a little bit longer.
You've left your mark.
Yeah, I've left kind of my own little mark behind. Yeah. I mean, I hope to get a little bit further before I, you know, whatever happens to me in future. I mean, my
Hey,
plan
if
is to
you're
die.
already doing a book signing, you're well on your way. You're good.
Yeah. I mean, I have a plan for my death. I'm going to die at 78 in my sleep peacefully. That's my plan.
Like, even if I have to like pop a bunch of sleeping pills, it's gonna fucking happen.
Well, you know, if you have that thought in your head and that's something that you know, think about when you think about death, then you never know, it probably will happen.
Law of attraction.
You know, that just
Well,
might be the way. I just don't want to feel
Well, the
anything.
point is, I don't sleep because it's kind of relatively peaceful.
Yeah.
I think
Unless you
everybody would
dream
rather
like a
die
really,
that way.
yeah.
Although I've heard plenty of
Um,
males be like,
yeah.
"Oh, I would love to die having sex." I'm like, that would be miserable for the other person.
Right.
Yeah, that would be really bad for the other person.
Yeah.
Unless there was like an earthquake or something, so you both died, and then it was like kind of like, oh well. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was. Plus, it's like during is like, you know, I mean like the end point is probably where they actually want to be, like
Yeah.
not just in the middle.
I think they used to call it like the little death, an orgasm.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
Something
know
like
about
that, yeah.
Um,
That would be
We're
odd.
going off topic.
Yeah, that's way off topic.
yeah, we really are from dreams to death, and then to yeah.
Sex.
Sex death.
Yeah.
Oh, we're morbid.
I don't want to. I want to go peacefully. Yeah.
Like
I
found,
think we all
like
do.
Or
like
not like in my sleep, because I want to know what's happening. I actually want to know the moment I'm dying. I want to know, because that's the last moment I'm going to have on Earth. Like, I want to know about it. But I don't want to hurt. I don't want it to hurt. So,
Well,
but
my
then
dad
again,
was able to
it
do
is my
that.
last moment, so who cares if it hurts?
My dad was able to do that. My mom got to witness it.
Yeah, I mean, just like a
I
peaceful.
think I think what I would really want is to have, I guess, some sort of illness that isn't necessarily like suffering, but is lethal essentially. Like in a perfect world, like that's how I would want to die, and it would be a case of it kind of allowed me to be diagnosed, so then I could prepare, and then just kind of die in my sleep peacefully,
Like an
like after a
aneurysm?
while. I guess. just yeah. I'll just get a brain tumor at 78. It's fine.
Shit. Anyways, do we have any more questions?
I'll just
I
check
think people
now.
are being shy today.
I don't think. Well, we haven't got anything on that. It's possible we've offended whoever was watching, because then we only have one person watching. Maybe with the talk of, I don't know, brain tumors.
Sorry.
Yeah, we went down to one viewer and that name, so I think it's time to wrap up.
Sounds
So
good.
thank you for watching, whoever is watching, and obviously this will continue to go on kind of after the live event, so it can be watched,
Can't hear you, man.
YouTube channel. Yeah, this will continue to be on the YouTube channel afterwards, because it's recorded as we're live.
And leave comments for topics if you guys have any topic ideas you guys would like us to cover. And what was it? Past lives, I think we were going to talk about maybe next.
Yeah.
Mark that down, Michelle, because I'm going to forget.
Yeah. Y'all stop being shy. Okay, like, we need some topics, so you need to give it to us. We're not gonna sit here and talk about shit you don't want to listen to. So, Give us the topics you want to hear about. Yeah.
All right.
I think we're done. Where'd Steven go?
He's there. I heard him laugh. Steven. I think he broke it.
I think we're stuck on live until Steven comes up.
You want to message him on Facebook? But we will say goodbye and we will be logged off soon.
Eventually, one day.
It kind of crashed and then failed to stop the broadcast. I pressed the button and then it came and failed to stop broadcast. So then I pressed it again in the hopes that it will actually stop now.
Did it stop? I think.
No, we're still live.